if there's one thing you take from this movie, one thing is this. If you're dating Zendaya, please make sure to thank her if you win an award. Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to an all-new Talkin Movies. As always, I'm your host, the real Gino Reynolds, and today we're going to be talking about the perfect movie for Valentine's Day weekend for those that hate Valentine's Day. Today we're going to be talking about Sam Levinson's new movie on Netflix, Malcolm and Marie, starring John David Washington and Zendaya. This movie was famously shot with a skeleton crew during the pandemic. What you have with this movie is you have a couple coming home after a movie premiere. John David Washington's character is he's a movie director, an up-and-comer, and he has made this movie where critics and everyone at the premiere was calling him like the next Spike Lee and things like that. And Zendaya plays a character who, at least what we learn at the first, the character in the movie is based on her life. You have this couple coming home, and he wants to celebrate because he had this great movie premiere, but you can tell that she is pissed off, and this leads to probably one of the biggest arguments I've ever seen in a movie, because that's pretty much the whole movie is these two just going at each other in an argument, and that is the crux of this movie. It's like you ask yourself with this one, at times you'll say, why are these two together? And then at other times you're like, these two are made for each other. First things first, if I get into any spoilers, I want to tell you this. I liked this movie, but I would probably never watch it again. You have to be in a real mood to watch this movie. I think Valentine's Day is the perfect time for certain people to watch this movie. Because if you, like me, have this dislike, we'll just say dislike for the holiday, seeing these two people go at it, just there, if you see what is probably a somewhat toxic relationship just explode in front of your eyes, you may enjoy the chaos. But if you're just in the mood to watch a movie and you like John David Washington and Zendaya, and you just want to see a nice romantic movie between these two, this ain't the place to go. I will say this. It's hard for me to recommend. It's on Netflix, so you can see it. You can just see it if you have a subscription, so that's always cool. But I can't recommend it to everybody. Again, you have to be, and I think you have to be in kind of almost a dark mood to really get the full experiences. And even then, I will say I didn't like the ending, even though it made sense. I'm not saying the ending's bad and it doesn't make sense. I just feel like the movie could have cut it off at the end of the argument, and it would have been a little bit better. I think it would have been a more powerful ending, I think, if they would have cut it off right at the end of the argument. As again, this movie's almost 2 hours long, and the whole movie's pretty much an argument. I mean, there's bits and pieces here and there where they're not at each other's throats, but most of the time they're at each other's throats. So it's hard for me to recommend, but it is free on Netflix. So if you want to check it out, there is things to like about it. The performances are really good. I love the atmosphere. I love the way a lot of this movie was shot, like where the camera angles and different ways they're showing the house and everything else, and how they're following people, the two people and everything. Because again, there's only two people in this movie. So it's hard for me to recommend, even though there is a lot to like about this movie aesthetically and performance-wise. Because I will say this, John David Washington and Zendaya are pretty good in this. So For performances alone, it's easy to recommend, but just for the content itself, you have to really be in the mood for it. So yeah, what's really good about this one is you got these two people going at each other. See, the reason the argument starts, and even though you could tell these two have issues anyway, they this fight was going to happen, whether the subject matter was what the movie had the subject matter be, or they were just going to go at each other for something else, because a lot of skeletons in the closet, or possible skeletons in the closet, and baggage get brought up in this movie. You see, Malcolm, during his speech after the premiere, thanks everybody. Everybody but Marie. And she takes it personally. And she is willing to go to bed angry, but the character of Malcolm is not. So they get into the argument, because she even says, no, let's just she comes home, she fixes him some mac and cheese. I'm pretty sure it's a Kraft product placement, because not only do they eat the mac and cheese, he goes for seconds, and also they talk about a Kraft mac and cheese commercial, about how he couldn't even shoot one or something like that. So I'm pretty sure that was some product placement. But yeah, once this argument starts, you're just like, okay, how far are they gonna go? And they just keep wanting. See, neither of them want to lose this fight, and you can tell these two. Again, you're at first you're gonna be like, why are these two together? And then you're like, oh, because they're both just. I'm not gonna say horrible people, but they're both just not. They're just made for each other. It's the type of people where, she's really damaged, because again, the story of this movie is based on her life, and she was like a recovering pill addict, and a bunch of bad things happened to her, and so she's really damaged, and he is very narcissistic, and so here's the thing: as this movie goes along, you're like, whoever's arguing, you're at times you're like, oh, they're winning the argument, and then the other, claps back. And I can't say, I will say someone does win the argument, and it's probably the right one. But yeah, these two just go at each other, and it's like they get uglier and uglier with what they're saying to each other. Whether it be, her accusing him of cheating with the lead actress in the movie, to him calling her crazy, and it just gets further and further, and we come to find out that I wouldn't call her a failed actress. She just feels like he wouldn't let her go after her dream because he had his dream, and so that plays into it. And there's just all this, it all leads up to a pretty big crescendo. And here's the thing, though. The argument is interesting the entire way. And again, there's lulls and things, and there's times. See, the thing is, he just wants to come home and celebrate. And by celebrate, he just wants to, so a few times he's, got her to where, she's, DTF, but then she'll be like, oh, by the way, this. And there's a time where they seem back together, and he's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And then she's laying there and she starts crying, because you just know that the argument's gonna start again. And of course it's the ultimate, C block for him. And so just this whole time it's back and forth. The argument gets uglier and uglier. But it gets to a point where it's the best. I think it's the best, or one of the best scenes in the movie. But I don't know if it has the intended result. Even though I really like the scene, there's a scene where it's supposed to be one of the big moments. And let's just say if this movie were in a theater, I probably would have been kicked out for as hard as I laughed. Because this is supposed to be this big, tense moment. And I was laughing because, maybe it's because I just sat through Fatale, and that entire movie was just a setup for a gotcha bitch moment at the end of the movie. And this one had kind of that moment, and it was done really well. And I just lost it, and the people in the theater probably would have looked at me like I was a crazy man. And maybe they're right, but yeah, it led up to this moment, and it's a great scene, but I lost it laughing, and I don't think that was their intended response. Again, it was still a really good scene. I just enjoyed it because it was. I like the performance behind it. I like how it ended. That part of the argument ended, and then the movie gets to the end, and they should have cut it off, and then not had the next scene, because I think it just would have been a cleaner. If you're gonna go for an artsy finish, I think if you would have cut off the very end of the movie, the ending, the artsy finish or whatever, would have been a lot better. Again, it's hard for me to really recommend this one to everyone. Again, I think you kind of gotta be in the mood for it. It is worth watching for the performances, but the subject matter, again, you just gotta really be in the mood for it, I think. But I thought both actors did a really good job. I like the way the movie looks. I like the black and white aesthetic. I like the overall feel of the movie. But it's just hard. Even free on Netflix, it's really hard for me to fully recommend. But still, I liked it, but I probably wouldn't watch it again. That's going to be all for this edition of Talkin Movies. If you like what you've heard here, please subscribe to the Real Gino YouTube channel. Like this video. If you have anything to say about Malcolm and Marie, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Till next time, I'm your host, the Real Gino Reynolds. Thank you.